Hello everyone and welcome to part 7. This is where the action will begin. However, before we go into that, there's a little small note for you guys to take into account. Some of you, when they start playing in the beginning, they will see the idle animation breathing and so on, and after a while, he will just freeze. Now, the reason behind this freezing is simply due to the idle animation not having a loop animation ticked in. So if you enable that for both of them, everything should work as expected. Now if we play and try, it will keep looping and not stop. That's exactly what we want. However, since we are talking about attacking now, let's take a look at the attacking state and what we can do to actually do it. Now, I did show you how to create an equip state. Attack state is very similar. I'm just going to show you exactly what we have. So we have a character attacking state, and let's take a look at that one. Now, character attacking can apply to both the AI and the player. Let's start with can perform, and here I'm getting the first list in the attack state abilities. Now I don't have anything, so for the time being, skip this part. The second condition I'm checking is checking if this is controlled by a player. If it's not, AI has its own things, so the AI will check if there's a combat target, there's something it's trying to attack. And the player side, I'm continuing. So the conditions you should note by now that the conditions for the attacking is not only performed on the state but also on the abilities. So once we get to the abilities, we'll take a look at that part. So the start state just literally does what the equip state did. There's nothing different here. As usual, you will change the stick gameplay tag to something you have. What I would suggest, since this is already done for you, just use it and don't create a new one, especially if it's an exact copy of the old one that you have. Alright, so with attacking state done, let's do the abilities. Now, for the abilities, we have quite a bunch for attacking. You can use counter execution, hold light, whatever. Let's start with light, and let's see the conditions for light attack. Light attack will check for few things. One of which it will check, that's one of the conditions. It will check if we have, what do you call it? Animation montage in the list. So if we go here, this is where the abilities are. Let's add a new one, which is the light attack we had. And it must have montages. Now we will set up the montages in a bit, but for now let's continue with the conditions. So condition 1, or sorry, condition 2 in this case will be that it has value, so it's not empty. The first condition, it has cost for gameplay tag. What does this function really do? Now if you go here, it will get the properties component, which is something we saw. Again, special properties, we saw this again. It will get a special property of tag property special cost. Now if you go here, back to the data asset, all the special properties will be held here. States allowed input? No. Protector play speeds? No. We don't have it. So in this case, if there is no such thing as a has cost for gameplay tag, this will simply return true if it doesn't exist. However, in the case of the sword and shield weapon right here, it has something we need to take a look at. Costs property. Now, cost to property, which is the one we're looking for by the way, it has a specific tag. It's property special costs. And to return that one. If we take a look at this, where did we miss it? Yeah, there you go. For light attack, I'm assigning ability attack light attack to have an attribute cost of 10 for stamina, only on the case of sword and shield. Now, if you go to here, I don't have any health or stamina bar. However, if you take this one, you will see a health and a stamina bar on the top. Don't mind the weapons on the bottom. It's because we didn't do any sockets. If I try to attack with it, you see it taking stamina. Now the taking of stamina part is simply because of this. However, if you don't have the property assigned here, there will be no cost, so you can do it however you like. It will simply return true. The third condition, me being in combat, and the fourth condition, having a valid weapon. Now, since you reached this part, you probably already have a valid weapon, so you can probably remove this. The other aspect is this. Now, this is the input component, and there's two conditions to run the light attack. One, either the input is buffered, which I'm checking here if there is a processing input that is taken from the input buffer. So I'm buffering an attack, or the attack input is simply triggered. That means the left mouse button, or the attack input in this case, is simply triggered. If it's triggered, then you can perform this. How do I know, or how do I assign inputs to know if they're triggered or not? It's in the controller itself. What I would suggest you guys do, whenever you assign or register a mapping context, simply create a function like this that does the exact same as this part. If you take this part, you can specifically note if a specific input is triggered or not. So you can check if it's triggered, started, ongoing, and so on. So the conditions here is these four plus either the input being pressed or it was buffered. Now we'll get to the buffering part in a bit, but I think the triggering input by this at this point is very self-explanatory. If we go to the pawn itself, you will see this is the attack input, and once it's running, it will simply try to run the attack, and the attack in that case will be true. Let's give it a try, but first we need to verify all the animations and so on. So let's do the animation first, and we're gonna start with something really simple. So protector, and let's do attack, and let's find a good one. So let's start with the first one. It's attack protector 01, and let's create a montage out of this. Just gonna make sure it's with root motion. I'll take this out, and I'm gonna assign it right here. Now I'm gonna try performing the attack state. Now let's verify again what we're doing. So left mouse button will trigger the attacking state, which this one will check the light attack. The light attack which is assigned here, and then the light attack conditions will also check if there is montages. Let's try to do this and see what we get. Of course, open the debugger, always keep this in your mind. So equip first, if we try attacking, it's correct. Now one issue, we're still stuck in attacking state and I cannot move and I cannot do anything. I'll explain two parts here. One is the reason why I cannot move. The second part is why I'm stuck in attacking state. Now let's fix the second, I'll get back to the first one. Now the reason we're stuck is because we did not change the state. When do I change the state? When it's an animation base and the animation itself, or you can force end it wherever you like. So let's do it with the animation since we're doing it with animation base. End current active ability, same thing. And if we try to play now, take a look, equip, try to press left mouse button, attacking state. When it's done, back to idle. How do I know it's back to idle? Why is it idle and not something else? If you go to the attacking state, decide next state, I'm checking is it controlled by a player. If it's not, this is for the AI. If it is a player, go back to idle. Why decide next state? It was mentioned again in here. If you go to the end ability, whichever is active ability at that point will be the light attack. And when you try to end it, it will call the parent. I'm specifically talking about light attack right now. It will call the parent and reset the combo. The combo is something for the for light attack combos when you have 0, 1, 2, 3. We'll get to it in a bit, but for now, just focus on this part. If you go to the parent, it will check if it's active. If it is, reset it back to none and remove it if it's a passive, and then decide next state for whatever active state that you have, which would be attacking state. Therefore, back to idle. So since we have that, let's discuss the first issue, which was I cannot move while I'm doing anything when it comes to the animation itself. What if we want to do this as upper body? And just like we did with equip, remove the root motion. Would you be able to attack and move at the same time? Now if we try, you will notice here I cannot, and my legs are still frozen in their place. Now the reason being, if we take this part right here, expand on it a little bit, this is the movement we have, and if I if I keep holding W and I attack, oh sorry, let me assign it to the current character. If I hold W and attack, you'll see it stopped on campfire input. Now it's because the state itself is not allowing the input to run. Now why is this happening? If we go to, again, the player protector data asset, there is a special property called states allowed input property. Now, in the case of every state has something that it allows and disallows. So the point of this specific node is either to buffer the input if there is a buffering waiting for it. If there's an active buffer that is looking for that input, it will either buffer it or it will check if it can perform it or not. Now in our case, we are talking about, I know most of those we didn't show. However, in the case of idle, you can do all of those actions. Heal, walk, you can do these things. In the case of attacking is what we look for. This is equip, so we can move while we're equipping, and that's something we already discovered. Unequip, falling, jump. We have nothing for attacking. Now attacking doesn't allow walking. Let's do that. If we add something else, sorry, not this button. States allowed inputs. We are using this array. So state dot attack. And here we're allowed two inputs, the move forward and move right. If this doesn't show, do this. Move forward and move right. And let's try now. If you walk and attack at the same time, now both of them happen at the same time. So you can do walking and attacking at the same time. For us, I don't want this, but it was just for you to know what's going on. Now, if you look at the player character again, this time you'll see that it's actually firing while I'm walking. Let's assign the character, it's already assigned, move forward, this is equip. While I'm attacking, it's constantly firing, so we're good. So I'm gonna remove this part, but just keep this in mind because that's something to do with every state that exists. If it has a node after the if it has this node after any input, it will either buffer it if there's a need for the buffering. I'll discuss buffering in the next video. However, if it doesn't, it will check if the state that you have allows such an input to run or not. And let's go back to the montages. And now how can we run from a montage to another montage? But before we do that, let's fix the mess we did. Go back to default slot, and the animation itself had root motion on, so re-enable that again. Now, since we're back to where we started, let's discuss. Next, we'll discuss the other types of attacks that we can use. So, for example, we just covered light. Okay, I want to have a different type of attack assigned to, say, shift left mouse. Shift left mouse runs something called a special attack. How do I know? Go to the third person character, and I'm gonna look for special. It's an input that we have in the mapping, and we'll do the exact same thing. And notice how this is running attacking. Like it's not running a specific ability, but rather an attack state that already exists in other places. So you have attack here, and you have attack here as well for hold. I'm not gonna cover hold for now. Let's focus on special. So special will run this one. How does special run? If we go to and look for special attack, you see an input, and the input is assigned in the mapping. The mapping itself is left mouse alongside left shift. So left shift and left mouse at the same time. In our scenario, if we try to run that, it will fail. Let's stop at this point first. So I'm gonna equip first and then shift and left mouse. It's not running. Now the reason is, if you look here, let's take this away. You're assigned to the player character. It's trying to run, but it doesn't really fire. Now, is the issue a bit before? Let's find out. We put it... Let's put it here. Shift and left mouse. It tries to run this one. What's the return value for it? Let's move on. It was false. So it tried to find list 1 in the data asset, but it didn't find anything that can run it. Would that be something we can look at? Let's try. Let's do it again. Shift, left mouse. It was false right away. Now the reason being is attacking is not triggered and there's nothing to buffer really. So we have to change this one in order to do a special attack. This is the reason why attacking is not running. It's because it's turning false on this part. Now if we stop, let's go back here. If we try to add another type of ability that you can create, which is something already done for you now, special attack ability. If we go to this one, let's check the conditions it has. And like I said, the exact same condition in the last attack. However, the input is different. Now it's a special attack being triggered. And this will be true. And the second these two conditions here, me having a weapon plus my weapon is equipped. Let's try this. Would this actually run? It returns as false. Now the reason being is I'm not in combat. So it returns false. Let me equip my weapon first. Shift, left mouse. Now it's true. However, this is also true. Back to attacking state after we pass this part. If we check the current active state, we are in attacking state, and in fact the special attack ability is also active. Now the problem is, why are we stuck like this? It's because you enabled the ability, but didn't have any montage. And you weren't checking for any condition in the special attack property that there is, sorry, the special attack ability that there is montage is active, like this one. So the condition here was to have a valid ability montages before you try to fire it. However, in our scenario here, it didn't. So you can consider adding that to whatever ability you have. For me, I'm not going to be adding abilities that I know that doesn't exist. However, I can get the montages from it. So you can bypass this part really. You don't have to add it. But to be safe, of course, so you don't get stuck, always remember to have that condition. Plus, don't forget to assign the montages to it. We'll do the exact same we did right there. And let's add the same montage here. Or to actually make it not confusing for all of us, let's pick something else. Let's pick something a bit unique. Let's go with what can we pick here? Let's go with buff. That's something, just for something to use. Doesn't matter which one we use. Let's move this to protector. This is buff, and as usual, let's end it. Since we have a start, we should have an end. And let's assign this for the special attack property. And now let's try. Equip, left mouse with a shift, and you did the special. Now if you check the state, we're back to idle. Let's do it again, and same thing again. Now notice one thing though. If you try to run it again, like try to run shift left mouse twice in a row, would that let you pass or not? Let's see. Equip, left shift, left shift, left shift. You see? After a while it stops until the thing is over. The reason being, it doesn't exist. The shift special attack, the shift left mouse does not exist in states allowing specific input. And I'm not buffering it, so it doesn't fire. Alright, since we're done explaining how to set up attacking and the abilities within attacking as well as the montages within attacking, what happens in the case of me trying to do, multiple light attacks sequentially? How can I do that while I have one active? Because we just checked that you cannot run an attack unless it's, if the state allows the attacking to happen. And at the same time, how does input buffer really work? Now let's try something here, and this will be the end of this video. State of attack will allow another attack input to run. And just to try, if you go to the list we have, let's add another attack montage. And from this montage, let's end right away. And let's assign this montage. Now, if you try to attack once, left mouse. If you try to run again, it reset the whole thing. It rerun it again. What happens if I click attack twice? See what happened? It's like it's jumping to a different montage at some point. Now, the point of attacking, in this case, if you click it twice, you see I jump to the next. If you try double clicking right after each other, that means attacking state will allow attacking input to run again. So you'll get the second montage running right away. And the second montage overwrote the first one. Now the reason behind this is because if you check the light attack ability, it will try to do the things sequentially. What this essentially does is it gets the first one on the end montages you got, which was this one, and increment that by one every time you click it. So there has to be timings where you can enable that attacking input to run and times where you don't, because if you double click from the beginning, you saw what just happened there. So the next video will discuss buffering as well as a few other things that can be useful to us when it comes to attacking. So see you guys in the next one.